right, how do I block this, Jono? Let's see.
Just a lot of women going,
But covered in cum.
yeah, it's like they
That's what It's a good place to start. We are tWoTcast, episode 271.
Everyone shut the fuck up.
Wheel of Time. Reread podcast. Explicit and R freaking rated. Jono's the wild card, always talking shit. Joe's the straight man, he's a total dick. Tom calls in if he's not too busy. We are tWoTcast!
You're listening to tWoTcast, the Wheel of Time reread podcast. And by reread, I mean reread podcast. It's even written in bold, and I still said it wrong. Now covering Robert Jordan's The Wheel of Time, Book 2, The Great Hunt. With me, as always, is Jono.
Jono!
And I'm Joe, and Tom is frequently but not always here, too.
Still your mouth.
And special guest tonight, guys, Ryan is here from Leafcast. And if you don't know what Leafcast is, you're stupid, because it's amazing. But also, Ryan, why don't you tell us about...
We're stupid. Tell us what Leafcast is.
Well, I am Ryan, and I'm one half of The Way the Leaf. That's the YouTube channel that we're running, and the Twitter. We are puppets, and we talk about the Wheel of Time. And we're doing a first-time reader show right now, and we're halfway through the Eye of the World, and that's super fun. We live stream that on Thursdays. And we are also randomly doing a fantasy football advice show every Sunday morning, which is completely balls to the wall.
It's incredible.
Yeah. And basically, what we're trying to do is just basically take the love of our favorite series and our love of improv comedy and our love of talking and our love of performing and just putting it all together. And also, we don't think right. So everything we like kind of take to this is kind of, we just don't think right. My brother's a weirdo. He thinks weird shit. I think weird shit. And it just kind of comes out in every episode. And I think it's fun because this is obviously well analyzed soil, let's say. Like we've sifted through this fucking mine for comedy gold, and every joke I'm sure has already been said. So if I can come up with a unique take on anything with Wheel of Time, that's kind of like my pursuit. So, but yeah, like I'm super stoked to do this with you guys. This is like a dream come true. I'm gonna get weird.
Which is so weirdly
It's the strangest thing I've ever heard. And I've had a woman say she wants to have sex with me twice.
Oh, yes. How'd that feel?
Like I said, weird.
Did you feel like you failed the first time?
No, I felt like really she probably failed the first time.
Oh.
And the second.
Okay. Awesome. What was the question?
There wasn't one.
That's awesome.
I think I
was going to bloviate. I'm bloviating. I'm going to bloviate like a motherfucker right now.
Oh, okay.
This is a huge moment for me because like you guys, the tWoTcast is literally the first podcast I've ever listened to in my life. And then, yes.
Ryan's told me and Tom this story before, but he hasn't really told me.
I can't imagine what it's like
laughing,
for you.
but it's really just funny and because I'm flattered and I don't know how to.
I have a lot of questions. I have a lot of questions for what your experience of this shit is like. What is this like to have a guy like me talk to you like this? I can't imagine. Must feel great and also weird, but fuck it. I'm going to keep going. I think I was on episode 5 when I started. That's how long ago. And I think I've gone with you to the first reread at least. I don't know when I stopped. But anyways, yeah. So you guys doomed me. Like after you guys, you obviously like the logical extension is like Mark Maron. I'm in his garage all the time. What the fucking? And then I'm into Joe Rogan, and then like I'm taking a lot of Alpha Brain. And it's,
did you just say Bro Jogan?
Bro Jogan, yeah. And no, it's just like it's a whole like downhill spiral of podcast listening and enjoyment. But seriously, like I can't believe that I'm like looking at you guys. It's weird. I don't.
It's not hard to do when you take your love of absorbing that media and then make something amazing like you guys have done with Leafcast. Because when we did the podcast-a-thon and you guys were on it, I was like, "What the fuck is this?" And I was like riveted. And it was like supposed to be when I was going to bed, and I was like, oh, I only have like 4 hours to sleep, and this show had to
But
come
I'll
on
stay up.
during that gap of time. Like I was just like falling asleep. I have to keep watching. It was so funny, dude. You
Now,
guys
is it
did such a
true
good
that
job.
you were doing you guys had considered an all women podcast called The Gap of Time? Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And we can't get any takers. The screening process is we haven't been able to get through the screening process. We're in liability right now. Our lawyers are starting to sue us. It's not working.
It's a very bad representation.
Yeah. So I mean, we're kind of putting that on the back burner. We have other ideas.
At least until litigation is over.
Yeah.
You can put anything in there. The lard of time.
Yeah.
An examination of all the animal fats and vegetable fats that might be used in the Wheel of Time.
Yeah.
The Gap of Time.
I feel like the lawyers are starting to, our own lawyers are suing us, is like a Spinal Tap kind of like breakdown. Which, by the way, tomorrow is November 11th, 11/11. So please watch that movie. One of the greatest of all time.
Brilliant. What? Okay, brilliant. I will. Maybe.
I will not either.
You all.
And actually, this is.
Yeah, I'll be busy.
And this will be coming out much
later. Yeah, that's okay. I've only been doing this for 10 years, and I still don't get how a delayed podcast works.
Joe, maybe put this out November 10th.
How many people are going to be like, oh shit, it's November 11th. What am I missing? What happened? Which is very apropos to our story that I'm going through. We hit a portal back to November 11th. Boom! Fucking bringing it around. I'm a professional.
You are a professional.
I'm just flexing right there.
I have 3 things to discuss before we get into these chapters. And they'll go quickly. And I'll do them in the order with which I actually give a fuck talking about them for. Lastly being the most important.
I need to ask you this. Out of 4, I'm at number 1. What do you call your fans? Like secretly?
Idiots.
Like it did when no one's listening. Are you like, what do you call us all?
I don't.
I don't think we've ever discussed that. I think we joked about it a long time ago, but we've never hit on it.
Viewers is technically the term.
Viewers is actually the term. Viewers of the podcast is our favorite term for our listeners.
We say that on the show. We don't make a secret of it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's not a secret. That's well known.
Okay. All right. I think you guys are all lying. You guys are pros. I appreciate it. Let's go. Let's move on. What do you got on the docket?
I have Trump lost, and I'm very happy. But I don't want to talk about that here. This is the only reason I want to talk about it, because last year we recorded on election day, and we were convinced that he wouldn't be elected. And it's like one of the worst podcasts ever, because it's just like you can just tell we're all gonna go to bed that night and then wake up the next morning and be like, motherfucker.
Hey, but weren't we eventually right?
That's true. 4
Also,
years
it wasn't
later.
last year.
But the key is that one of our viewers in Australia, I was talking to him and I was like, hey, we didn't record on election night, but it turned, and this was like 3 or 4 days later, not when Joe Biden was called.
Didn't Australia know a day in advance?
They knew Friday.
That's correct.
Because of the whole time thing and the hemisphere.
They knew Friday.
They in Japan, and why they couldn't have fucking
But it was
told us.
basically on like Friday before it had really been called yet. But I was like, hey, I know it's not done, but it looks like if we had recorded on election day, like it wouldn't have been that bad. Talking to our viewer in Australia,
or maybe we're responsible for the last 4 years.
I'm glad you did it.
Yeah. What if it's our fault?
Wait,
do you live in one of the swing states?
Yeah, well,
technically, Joe and I do.
Yeah.
Voter suppression, man. Podcasters need to unite.
At any rate,
we're getting our votes suppressed.
It's just a funny story of how 4 years ago we were idiots. Anyway, second thing.
That's awesome.
Alex Trebek died. I'm very upset about it.
Fuck off.
Jeff.
Tell me why.
Not really. It's really for Jono. I just wanted to rub it in.
I watched Jeopardy The only thing I ever watch on TV with any sort of consistency, and it upsets me that we record on Tuesdays at 7:30. Well, 7 o'clock right now. But I watch Jeopardy every fucking night that I can. And he's literally, besides, wait for it, fucking Sean Connery.
That was
the only celebrity I care about.
You're jumping the gun.
Yeah, thank you. I know where this is going. I've had a hard fucking couple weeks.
We should have had Maria on for this.
Well, he's feeling it, so he's just going to start sabotaging. He's going to throw his weight around. He's that upset. I get it. I'm feeling you, Jono.
Yeah. Thank you. If we'd had Maria Simmons,
keep describing your love of Alex Trebek. It's okay.
Do you? Is there any facet of Alex Trebek where like you think you could slide a facsimile of Alex Trebek into Alex Trebek and it'll still be fine for you?
Is there a replacement for Alex Trebek? I think is what he's asking.
That too.
No, I like this. No, but I prefer the facsimile question because it's a much better term.
What if it was like a young clone of Alex Trebek, and they're like, "Listen, we've had this technology for like 40 years. We've been growing."
Is it the Duncans from like June?
Or could it be an AI? Like literally, like I think. Do you think like you've seen enough of him that they could just AI him?
Yeah. What if it was like an animated
permanence?
hologram AI of Alex Trebek? Would you be happy?
How many unique?
So I will say that my favorite video of all time is in fact maybe Jeff Party with the like
what are you? Is this a Pornhub search?
No,
it's not. It's we'll send someone changed it all to Jeff Party, and everyone's name is Jeff, and all the answers are Jeff,
and all the
instead
questions
of Jeopardy. Yeah, and that's it. And then they just took
the whole bit is like
sound bites.
Jeff, and your categories are Jeff, and then it's at the very, and then like halfway through the bit, someone's like, "What is San Francisco?" And they're like, "I'm sorry, that's incorrect."
20th century Jeff,
and that's it.
Literally it. It's fantastic. If any of our viewers have not seen the Jeff Party bit, just go on. Ryan, stop laughing at her. Not joke.
You asked me to get high.
Technically, we did.
If any of our viewers have not seen Jeopardy, you should definitely watch Jeopardy. It's very funny. Anyway, Sean Connery died.
I seriously thought the whole time you were saying Jeff Party. We are.
Party. Yeah.
Yeah, Jeopardy. That's what I said.
I'm changing my Zoom name to Jeff.
What is Jeff? And
our hosts with me tonight are Jeff, and Jeff.
Why don't we? Let's pause and share screen, and I'll watch that real quick.
You can share screen right now.
It's 1 minute long.
Go for it.
All right, let me figure out how to do it.
How do you share screen from your phone? I don't know.
I can do it.
I think I can do it. All right, here we go.
Jeff.
This is Jeff Party. Introducing today's contestant, a director of semantic technology from Charlottesville, Virginia, Jeff. An IT manager from Sharon, Massachusetts, Jeff. And our returning champion, a bakery owner from Knoxville, Tennessee, Jeff. Whose one day cash winnings total $8,100.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our show. Good champion and Jeff. And Jeff, happy to welcome you to our program as well. Here are the categories. First off, Jeff, and Jeff.
Let's try Jeff for 200.
Jeff.
What is Jeff?
Yes.
Jeff for 400.
Jeff.
What is Jeff?
That's right.
Jeff for 600.
Jeff.
What is San Francisco?
No, Jeff.
What is Jeff?
Right again.
Jeff for 1,000.
Jeff. And that would be Jeff.
I got that last one.
Oh no!
Oh my god!
That's so great.
Fucking good.
I'm actually crying a little bit.
And so that's my favorite. That's my favorite thing in the world.
I'm so sorry to hear about your losses, Jono.
It's been a tough few weeks.
I do believe at some point Alex Trebek was not giving you any unique responses, and I do think you could just Teddy Ruxpin him into like permanence.
I love that. Yeah.
See, am I allowed to boot people from a show? No, I'm not.
The one suggestion that I saw that made sense to me this week was LeVar Burton reading Rainbow.
That's a great idea.
That's a great idea. I
still think Ryan's idea of hologram Alex Trebek is the best, but I mean, I guess if you have to put a real human there.
Yeah, just like.
I suspect they're going to do Ken Jennings because they've made Ken Jennings a assistant producer. Sorry. But yeah. Sorry, I'm opening another beer.
Kind of an interesting choice.
I'm not into it.
Or I also remember that guy being incredibly boring.
Well, yeah. Anyway,
all right.
I don't think that this is really what we need to be covering.
Yeah, let's talk.
All right. I'm also sad Sean Connery died. I've been rewatching all the Sean Connery James Bond movies. That's all I have to say about it.
I mean,
in this forum, let's move on.
Everyone who grew up with TBS knew that November to December was 13 days of 007, and you have to watch all the fucking Bond movies. That makes sense.
Yeah, if you like Chauvinist Mills spy movies, which
fucking love them.
Yeah.
Who doesn't? That's a weird thing to say.
Yeah.
What do you think this new James Bond's going to be like?
It's probably not going to be for me because I
haven't seen a James Bond in decades.
Oh, goddamn, Ryan.
Moving on. Let's get back on track.
Ryan's losing his buzz just listening to all these
spoiler warning. We are going to talk about whatever the fuck we want to talk about, including things that might not even be in the books.
Like Jeffrey.
So this is our episode covering The Great Hunt, written by Robert Jordan, part 12, chapters 37 through 40. And Ryan is going to give us his high interpretation of chapter 37 because he does not drink alcohol.
I do not, but
I think we're ready. No, you've done a great job. Also, we did, that was slightly before we started the recording. You've done a lot of work getting high tonight, and we appreciate it.
Thank you.
I'm so high I can't find my actual PDF of the books.
The first chapter is called "Twat Might Be."
Twat Might Be.
No, I think the first chapter is called Jeff. And it's a perspective from Jeff. All right, chapter 37, What Might Be. It's a Rand POV. Go ahead, Ryan.
All right. I do not have the text in front of me, but I have notes. What I remember is that our party is leaving the steading, and we have the unfortunately named Juan coming with them. I think that's a weird name. There's interesting points. They did mention that she said something about calling back the stonemasons from Carhian. I wanted to ask you guys if you had any thoughts about that. I thought that was really interesting. I didn't pick that up on the first reread. Like, why would they call them back?
They weren't getting paid.
They were, yeah.
Yeah, that's actually true. That's it.
Yeah. The last chapter.
No, that's a legitimate answer.
Yeah, so they were working on Trump Tower. Trump is like famous for not paying his contracts. Okay, yeah, I hear it.
The king was spreading around too much money, buying food from other places because all the farmers since the Aiel War were gathered around the city, and he was just buying big parties for everybody and buying a bunch of food, and he didn't have any money to pay them to keep the towers going, so he stopped paying them. And they left.
Okay. I was wondering if it had anything to do with that time when they actually cut down the Aventasaur tree, and if
I would have thought that Ogier would have been a little more pissed off about that. I love that.
I wondered.
That's a very interesting point.
I like that.
Do you think Ogiers are aliens?
Well, technically, yes.
Okay. All right. I'm still trying to see that in my reread because I know this theory's out there. I'm trying to find that. So you guys think that's solid?
It's at the very end that it's kind of revealed.
Yes, it's aliens, I think, but I think it's more like they're described as trans-dimensional beings. So
just like
not aliens as in they came down in a flying saucer and blah blah blah. I think
they live on a separate world. And that's how they got here.
The book of translation, so to speak, is theoretically like their gateway back to like wherever they came from.
Yeah.
Which makes a lot of sense in a world where there's portal worlds and different versions of everything. So like, it's not that weird when you look at it like that way, but when you think of them as like flying through space and landing on Earth, it's stupid.
Why don't they have any memory of that though? Like, why isn't it that in their, or is that their belief in that they?
I think they do. I think they just don't really talk about it. Or maybe it's just they've been here for so long. They're like, yeah, whatever. We told you guys a jillion years ago. You just don't remember because you lived for 5 minutes.
It's very odd, like as far as like when you read it, it's only in book 13 and 14 that it's brought up that they have, like you said, the book of translation, Joe, and they have this kind of like, you know what, we can get the fuck out of here kind of like mentality of we don't have to be here for this. They're
Moonies.
What? They're Moonies? Yeah.
They're Moonies. I just realized that.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yes, they are.
Awesome. The fucking so the Ogier's bail, and Ingtar's freaking out. And at first I'm like, oh, come on, Ingtar, you're like so gung ho about everything. And then I was trying to like get in the mindset of him, like what they're really asking him to do. I think I'd be shitting balls too. They're literally asking him to just get sonically warped to a new place. And it obviously was like perilous and almost kills him in the end. And he had every right to be fucking scared. At first when I first read, I was like, fucking Ingtar, suck it up.
Yeah, just get on board with shooting through dimensions. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, it really.
Act like you're some sort of normal soldier from a fortress up north.
Yeah, but you kind of lay out like what's really like, why this hasn't been done literally other than Rand accidentally in, I don't know, couple thousand years that someone's just transported from A to B. Like the waves are already weird enough and haven't been used in hundreds of years. But this is something that predates like all of that shit.
And
be kind.
For Varen to have just utter confidence that he'll make the right choice and that what the pattern means and who she's dealing with almost gives her like a safety net. She believed in that safety net and proved to be right. Like he did choose, he didn't choose correct. He didn't choose death. He didn't choose the area where you can't fucking breathe. He chose just like 4 months, I guess, behind or whatever. But that makes Varen just the depth of her understanding of the cosmology, putting the whole story together for her to just make that choice. And she actually says, this is where gambling comes in. And she goes, she goes, I don't think the pattern will let you die. Right?
By the way, complete theory on her end. She's like, I don't think.
Well, no, actually, let's get into that. Like I have this whole thing about predeterminism in this world and what it means. And is there free will being expressed by the characters in this world? And I'd like to hear from you guys. Like, do you think there's free will in Randland?
I mean, not to a degree, just because Jordan makes it really clear that he's the writer of the story and they're the main characters of the story. That's almost what Taverin almost completely is.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know what else to think about it. Like,
I think they have free will unless they're Taviran, which means the pattern is like taking them on a specific journey for a specific amount of time.
Yeah. I mean, they're not real
like
people.
At the end of the series when he's alive, I think he's been let go of that. And he's like allowed to die at any moment and everything, he can do whatever he wants. Like he wouldn't be. But and like the guy next, like Ingtar is just, he has free will. But like, does Rand at this moment in time? Probably not. But I mean, I still think he has choice. I just think ultimately the choices would bring him back to the same path.
Or if you're going if he's going to end up wherever he's going to end up, no matter what, then he's got free will, but every single choice he makes changes everything around him. And they show that all the time too.
Yeah. So 10
he
years
has
ago,
free will
you said something very interesting, which is kind of to this point. And you were saying that him seeing all these different flickers of his older lifetimes just reinforces the fact that he is actually the Dragon Reborn. And like, it almost pushes him further onto this path. Like, so did he choose the wrong symbol or did he choose the symbol that like, the pattern wanted him to choose so that he could see all this shit play out different ways and know like none of those are going to work. Like I can't just hide. I can't just run. I can't join the Dark One. I can't marry a queen. I can't do this. I can't grow
there.
old, I can't go
Ryan had to
gambling,
answer his question.
Yeah.
What's
All right,
that?
go ahead.
Ryan didn't answer it, nor did I. Let's calm it down, Joe.
I'm just bringing up.
What do you think, Ryan?
Thought, Jono?
Oh, what do I think? I think that like there's a conversation that Varen has with Swan Sanche when they first meet back up, and she's giving reports about what's happening in the world, and she starts talking about the false dragons, and she's like, yeah, one of them is captured, and that's Logain. Another one was just assassinated on the spot. And she goes, I'm not surprised that they're dying. The pattern has no use for them anymore. So yeah. So that kind of goes against your argument that everyone has free will unless you're ta'veren. I don't think we're saying that random false dragon was ta'veren and that's why the pattern took him out. I think that there is this whole issue with how the wheel and the pattern works, and I think this world is a highly predeterministic world that there is no free choice, and that but what happens though is that Rand has to go through some sort of like Brahmin type level of soul searching and somehow transcend with the help of like all the men and all the things that he gets to coalesces to the moment when he rips Moradin into the pattern, steps into the pattern, and he sees the Dark One for what he is. And then I think at that moment when he's in the pattern, he is the first being to express free will, and his choice was to keep this whole predeterministic world going because he loves the people inside it, and he sees that everything has meaning. And even though there's so much suffering, and even though he's been training himself the whole time to just defeat it, he understood that, oh my God, at this moment, I literally could end time for the first time. So I think Rand was this isn't just one turning of the age of wheels. I think Rand coalesces into the ultimate moment when he could have stopped it all, and like your life and our lives would never have happened and it all would have gone to waste. But he chose, and then he put the wheel back in place, and now we're just playing this whole thing out. That's my whole thing. He did anything he did out of love.
Jono, you have thoughts, I'm sure, but real quick, I like that for many reasons, especially the part being like, it almost explains the pipe that everyone's so confused about, because he's now outside of the pattern in a way, so he can just do whatever the fuck he wants. And it kind of does explain that weird quote unquote mystery. I mean, I don't really see it as much of a mystery as everybody else seems to, but that is a huge question mark in a lot of people's minds. But if you buy into what you're saying, that explains that instantly. Like there's almost no discussion about it.
Mm-hmm. He become like, well, yeah. And then there's the whole idea, like, I started thinking about this when I was watching the Dusty Wheel, and this one guy was like breaking down magic in the Wheel of Time, and he brought up magic of the will, and how people through will level up in ways that shouldn't be happening. Like Pat and Fane, he brings up, like he is an example of like will magic. He just through dint of will was able to like overcome and get more and coalesce dark power. And then you could look at like Egwene, has like uses will to her great advantage. Almost like if it was a stat on your fucking D&D, like all of a sudden some people are like 20 plus, and all of a sudden like they're able to do shit that like is like next level. So I've been thinking about like what will means and all of this, and I think that like almost it just becomes all will magic. But I think he and Nakomi are like the binary of that essence, the creative force essence, whatever it is, that kind of outside of the pattern thing that so I think like we introduce Nakomi to kind of to prime the brain that's a possibility, and then we then we bring Rand in and we go, look, now Rand's doing it, and look to the effect that he does it. Yeah, and so I think that he's not a new thing.
Yeah.
he's something that is a possibility in this cosmology. But
all right, Jono, you need to answer this question.
I was staring at Tom, who was looking away in chagrin.
Yeah, I lost Tom a long time ago.
Oh yeah, Tom died. It happens. I guess
just being quiet to let us all talk. It's fine. He does this all the time.
As far as like what's new, we do assuming that we believe Robert Jordan, who kind of a suspect witness at this point because he didn't finish it. Lazy. Supposedly, Peyton Fane is kind of a new entrant to this as far as what usually happens in the wheel. I like your thought, really, and for the love of God, I love there's nothing better than someone high coming up with ideas, especially when they're smart and make sense. Like that.
Yay.
So Rand, like you said, when he steps into kind of the last moment, last battle, and kind of steps in the flow of time, he realizes that if he killed the Dark One, what happens? Well, without bad, it's really kind of hard to see good. Is kind of the whole point here, right? Like that's if there's no longer black versus white, everything's a shade of gray that doesn't really have any sort of variance or meaning. And so one more time the wheel goes around and he's just sealed again. Whether or not this is the first time, the last time, or just one of many iterations, I don't know. It takes away from the importance of the books if you just said, yeah, this happens every damn time. But at the same time,
people argue that. I've had arguments with people, that's their claim. Yeah, this is just one story, and the next age could be this amazing other great story, but it'll end the same way. And I'm like, well, that's fucking boring.
Well, it definitely won't end every age that way. We know that.
I always, although I think this has been said, this is not correct many times, but I love the thought that at the end of this turning of the wheel, time becomes a line and it's not a wheel anymore because he broke everything to be
he did not. I think that was the whole point.
I think the creator is the writer, the Taveran are the main characters, the pattern is the plot of the story. At the end of the story, Rand's story is over. He's broken free of the plot in the story. They don't need him anymore, and he can do whatever the fuck he wants. He has magic power.
Right.
Yeah. I think one of the
on
most...
that same note, Tom, which when you break it down like that, that's why I think Taveran don't have necessarily free will, like Ryan's been saying, but also Abel Coffin absolutely does, because who gives a fuck what Abel Coffin does? There's certain I feel like there's certain levels of free will. If there is no free will, it's more
Joe,
a certain level of how tied you are.
Earlier, Moraine mentioned the fact that within the Wheel of Time, a farmer can choose to live, in part A or part B. A farmer can't choose to be a king necessarily, although I guess it's entirely possible. But, there is limited free will as far as you can move, kind of almost it's like a sinusoidal kind of wave. You can move up and down there, but certain people are going to have higher amplification and some Taveran are going to have almost zero.
Right, but so do you think the lower amplification people have free will though? That's what I'm proposing.
I suspect the answer
I'm saying
is
the people that aren't as important have more free will because they have more of an ability to do whatever the fuck they want, and it doesn't really affect the overall pattern.
More free will, but Taveran's choices, while only going from A to B to C, instead of it being you can be anywhere in a circle, you can only go in 5 different spots. But when they branch hard, right? It's if Rand decided, I don't know, balefire Moraine in the middle of something, or balefire Min while mid-coitus.
Hello?
Yeah. I found a new lamp. I went to IKEA.
You don't have that choice. You don't have that. Yeah. All right. So one of the things I love before they go is Varen's whispering to him, Ryan, how to fucking do it, because she has no real clue. But I find it fascinating how strong Rand is in book 2, 6 months after he's channeled for the first time. And she's just if I tried this, it'd fry me to fucking pieces. And he could take a whole fucking, a dozen dudes and horses.
Yeah, a retinue. Yeah.
Yeah. And just kind of go from from east to west real fucking fast. Minus, of course, few
and the
thousand.
Whole time, just the whole time he's I guess I'll pick that one, and starts laughing about how just flippant he's being with there's no hominy. He's not trying to be hominy. He's just fuck it, boom.
Yeah.
He
that one looks
arbitrarily because he's like, this one has a circle and the arrow is piercing it, so maybe it means leaving a place.
It actually reminded me of losing his virginity. Yeah.
Every time I read that, I always feel like it means like that means the portal stone's about to get pregnant.
Yeah, that's right.
Sure, sperm and an egg.
That's correct.
Mm-hmm. Bursting out the other side. What is that?
And so when at the end when Baron says that's a huge show of the Force, you need to learn to control it. She's basically saying like that was a powergasm.
Yeah, you should probably
painful.
He really burst that cervix.
Yeah, well, so that's another thing. It's like he didn't even like. It's not that he necessarily even chose the wrong symbol per se. It's that there was like a weird surge of the one power, and that's what caused all the fucked up flickering.
Is there a surge of the power? Is it his inability, or did he choose the wrong thing, or was it the pattern intervening? Because we all know.
I think it was him like accidentally channeling too much. Yeah.
And I love how she just berates him. Like she totally knows he knows not one fucking thing, and he totally doesn't want to do it. And at the end, she's like, "What the fuck, Rand? Jesus, get a hold of yourself." He's like,
you think they traveled through time, or do you think he channeled for 6 straight months?
6 straight months. 4 months, first off. But I do love, like you said, Ryan, she gets like, you should not have led us here directly. What the fuck does that mean? Was I supposed to go intervening space? Like what?
You literally said no one even knows what this shit means.
Yeah.
And then,
thanks a lot. But, so the memories.
Isn't she the one who brought that up? Like there are some symbols that can just take you from one stone to another. Mm-hmm. Didn't she put that in his brain?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. I was like, am I crazy, or did she not just say that?
She did. It's okay.
Okay.
Like there was some cool little like knowledge.
So she said that, but then also didn't want him to do that. How stupid is that shit? Anyway, whatever.
Fair. So there was some cool kind of knowledge about like, the top ones, their worlds. This one's this. So this is how we learned about the ways. But like, I come back again. Every one of these memories is kind of fascinating, as well as the like, I've won again, lose there, and time and time.
Yeah, that's
mm-hmm.
It's like, what a creepy way to die. Like, and some of them are like, I got the rotting sickness as I, just slowly just got my ass handed to me by the Shan. We were taken over by the Dark One's forces,
mm-hmm.
and like that kind of thing. Like, there's so many permutations on his life and death. Like that
just means if like Rand had been like playing in the yard with Egwene as a child and he tripped and fell on a rock and died, it would have just been like, I win again, lose there.
No, not really.
Do you think the Dark One? Do you think the Dark One would have said that to like a 5-year-old?
It hits his head and it was like, I win again.
Stillborn.
Rand has an embolism mid-sex, like just coming. If I won again,
it wasn't. Leave him. It wasn't much of a fight. Leave him alone.
You fall out of a tree when you're 5 and you just hear this voice. I win again. Like, what the fuck?
Better luck next time.
So,
but I'm fascinated. Oh, I'm sorry. You go on, Ryan.
No. Well, real quick, I love that every iteration of Tam, he's just great. Just that's one point. Like, there's no bad Tam.
Yeah, there's no bad Tam.
Just nothing. Even when he like makes bad decision, whatever. Okay, so there's little things. Real quick, like Varen says this line, and I thought this was fascinating when she says, "I don't think the pattern will let you die," and then she goes, "Oh well, the shadow lies on the pattern now, so XYZ." Like, who the hell knows? Like, what the hell does that mean? Well, yeah, just whatever she said after that. I don't have the book, but like she goes, the shadow lies on the pattern. So I think that's weird.
She's like, the pattern's not going to let you die. But at the same time, the shadow's on the pattern, so who the fuck knows?
So
let's try it anyway.
Coming back to what we were talking about earlier, for like the metaphor of the creator being the writer and stuff like that. Who's the shadow on the pattern? Is it his editor?
Yes.
Is it
Harry fucking shit up.
Yeah.
That's Harry.
He's like, I had this amazing idea, and she's like, dumb, and he's like, you're the dark one.
Or is it like
my brother brought up? We were on the Black Tiger podcast, and my brother brought up, like, was it a good idea for Harriet to be the editor, to have your wife be the editor? And it was like, you could almost hear the room, like everyone catch their breath. It was a third rail.
I mean, is it?
Let's probably not put this in the podcast.
Edit that out. Before Harry
this is third rail. Harriet's God. We're great.
Yeah, Joe, don't put our people insulting Harriet out on the internet. It's our
Is that an insult?
Edit it
just more commentary on you should work with your loved ones.
Edit me out.
It was more just working with your loved ones. It's not like a specific like I don't know her skill in editing, but it was. I thought it was just a funny joke, but it was like, oh no.
Very
you think that you think the shadow? You think the shadow on the pattern could have been like the book company or like potential book companies like canceling the series or not picking it up, and he's like, well, I was going to write this long series about you, but instead you died of the rotting sickness. So your manuscript at the bottom of my drawer, Randolph Thor.
The shadow on the pattern is just all the things that Robert Jordan does when no one's looking.
Who'd you use this whiteout? I was jerking off. Oh,
Don't worry about that.
Robert Jordan.
The shadow.
Again.
So obviously Matt has, dreams of like, I'm not going to betray you. Don't worry. Aaron seems very kind of like, well, I know I'm bonded to you almost.
Yeah.
I'm fascinated by like, is this like, there's always this question of like, did Massimo become the prophet because of this shit? But
I absolutely think so. Yes.
But how did they not know Rand was the dragon and just, or maybe they just did and didn't want to say anything because they fucked up, 8,000 times. But I'm fascinated by what the horses lived at this point.
Oh,
the horses?
Okay.
Yeah, the horses, because they're described as like, rolling their eyes and shit like that. Like I'll tell you what, I'm not biting. I'm not biting that grass. It's got poison ivy in it. I'm not biting that grass. There's a scorpion in it. Like, did they have what?
Yeah, they lived 1,000 lives.
Yeah, they're just like a glue factory of lives.
Yeah, glue factory.
Just a straight glue factory. Every single one of them just Elmer's
as soon as they can.
Abel Coppin's putting fists in weird places. We got all kinds of stuff for these horses.
If it's a Shanarian horse, then it basically lived 1,000 lives where it died every time in battle. Every time.
But there's got to be some animal husbandry accidents.
Yeah. They're like, is this my destiny to die in battle no matter what?
One of them is Christopher Reeves.
And then like the Darkwing goes to the horse and goes, wait. Every time the horse dies, Darkwing goes,
you son of a bitch, you don't say that.
Instead of you win again, lose Theron or something. You just go,
really dark chapter.
Why is he delivering a message to Bella? She knows.
All right. So wait, how is any of these people functioning after this at all? I
don't know.
Every single one of them, down to the lowly soldier, just got re-traumatized a million times over. You're dying. The thing we're all fucking afraid to do.
How much do they remember, and how much does it stick with them? Because doesn't it fade quickly or something? Don't they mention that later?
It seems like it fades. Perrin mentions in the next book that
I think it's in the next couple of chapters after this little group that we read, but I feel like they say something like, I barely remember what happened. Like,
is that because
they're left with like the feeling of like what happened, but not
is that because of what Varen did?
I don't know. Oh, interesting.
No, because Perrin,
she went around and FaceTimed to everybody.
Yeah, she went around. Yeah. She ran around and like Men in Black to everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Perrin mentions later on in the next book or two that after that trip by Portalstone, he knows that his fate is tied to Rand, despite how much he wants to run, and so that's why he's always kind of like a little bit like looking at askance at Matt for not getting, the fact is that while they're both Taviran, Rand's the one in charge, and that no matter what they do and no matter how far they run, their fate is always tied to him. And that's why Perrin's just kind of like given into destiny, kind of depressingly so. And who knows how many wolves he had sex with or bit his dick off, because he's very fucking hard against wolves, especially after this. But like, that's kind of his, like, I guess I'm, Taviran again. Hooray.
Perrin must have seen at least one alternate life where he was fucking wolves and became like a full-on wolf in the woods, right?
I feel like he saw a lot more than one, Tom. That's what I think. I think him clawing his own
gouging his eyes out.
Yeah.
He seemed to
get his own eyes was indicative of how many times he just succumbed to being a wolf and just became a wolf.
It's because he saw too much wolf pussy in his alternate lives. Do you think it's 40,
I can't take it anymore?
40% of those lives? 60, 80?
Which is so great because he comes out, it's perfect. He comes out and he goes, no matter what you do, some things remain the same. That's him accepting. He's accepting that he's gonna fuck a wolf in his lifetime.
I mean, he's fucked a lot of wolves.
Just no matter what.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
All right. So do you think you're actually better off?
9,000 out of 10,000 times he was fucking wolves. That's what I would say.
All right. Would you guys do this? Would you voluntarily do this? I mean, like on some level, like the thing that we're all afraid of most is to die. And this is like, it forces you to see yourself dying and literally experience it over and over again, but you're going to come out alive.
Yeah.
I almost think like, holy shit. Like, that's almost like that's almost like a rite of passage. I think I would be like, I'd be transcended after that. I think I would be having the best life ever. But
I would do.
Would you do it voluntarily?
Yeah, I would. It would only be annoying is that you see 1,000 different lives except this one. What's the point? It would be like going to the movies.
But you see so many different versions of yourself making different choices. You'd basically
I get with
see what you should or should not do, so to speak.
I mean, let's not forget that the happiest character, well, maybe not the happiest, but the coolest character in this series is really Matt Cawthon. What does Matt Cawthon have in his brain? Not too long after this, which is ironic, but this
multiple
is probably
lives. Yeah,
he's got multiple lives, multiple fucking deaths, which are a little hard for him to get over. But after a while, like he's got the ability to like navigate so many fucking scenarios, like how to battle, how to eat pussy. Like he's got this all in his fucking head, and the answer is. He's been a woman a couple of times, I believe.
Also, I'm not Randall Thor, so like I assume most of my lives would be relatively boring. So I feel like it'd be fine.
I think it'd be a lot of like, God damn it, I'm in a hospital again for a really long time.
I know, Jesus, like again?
There's that one life where you just
and die, or at least that when I died in a car accident at 20. Whew, good.
Yeah, and then you would know to take your car in for maintenance.
Yeah.
Those brakes are getting bad.
I feel like my stakes are so much lower that it would just be enjoyable.
Just like truly the Truman Show over and over again.
Yeah.
Groundhog Day.
Just like the most boring ride in Disney World ever. So
I gotta love it. Rand gets leprosy, right, and loses his fingers, but then he goes off to war, right?
Yeah.
What was he had to have like a nickname, right? Like what were they going?
Yeah, it's definitely something like not even clever because he smelled bad from the wasting sickness. Only had 2 fingers. Like it sounds like something made to be like stinky two finger guy. Like which is just probably got a lot of bad
stinky 2 fingers. Oh, does that mean he fingers a lot of pussies? No, it means he
is that the kids? Is that a kids reference?
Yeah, they probably called him the Shocker.
Yeah, well he's only got 2. There's no.
I know, but the only 2 left smell bad.
Yeah, he left one buried in her pussy. The other 2.
Well, I mean, you do have that. You have like that phantom limbs. You have that phantom limb syndrome. So you probably felt he had all of his fingers.
Yeah.
Wait, so it says he lost the last of his fingers on his right hand. Am I incorrect on that?
No, he lost 2 on one and 1 on the other. So he had like 7.
Okay, good.
He was like a 75%.
I thought it said he lost his last 2 fingers on his right hand, and then 2 seconds later it was like, but he still had enough fingers to work a bow, and I was like, how?
Yeah, what is that? Yeah,
I was like, wait,
how?
what?
Yeah.
He uses his legs. He's just like,
just his teeth is like.
And so then like he goes to war, right? And then he fucking sees a banner and he just spends all of his energy shooting at a banner.
10 years ago, Tom said that was his favorite one.
Like you're shooting a cloth with a arrow.
What's on that banner?
Everyone else on the field of battle is like, what the fuck is that guy doing?
He's all,
no, they said, what is the Shocker doing?
He's like... and then he just gets plowed. I did like how in the first flicker, like he very specifically drops the kettle, right? I like that little detail because instead of smashing him in the face with it.
Dying on Winter Night right away was pretty crazy. I like that.
It's definitely really cool. Like, you can see kind of how many things he could and should have died of, but the pattern wouldn't let it. Maybe.
The one where he stays super, and we were just talking about it, but the one where he stays super old and lives in the 2 rivers and Tam has grandchildren and they build the farmhouse up and like, it's like basically showing us the reader, like this is what would have happened had he not gone kind of thing.
Yeah.
With Moraine. But I don't hate it. And I'm just
No,
I know it's bad and he lost eventually, but like it's nice to know that he could have lived a happy life.
Yeah,
at least with Egwene
way
like
too long
helping
on this, and like it's fucking 8 o'clock already. But we should probably hurry it up. But
we have to go to the next.
Well, this is to be fair the most interesting.
There's some chapters that are not too interesting. I'm happy to breeze
But
through.
Ryan, one of the things that's like I'm sure you've heard it if you've listened to this podcast. One of the things that's always gripped me is the fact that like Jordan's first idea for this series was the idea of like Rand, the Dragon Reborn, the Chosen One, finding out that he's the Chosen One way too late. Like instead of being like, your typical like coming of age story, like of an 18, 20-year-old or whatever age they come to, instead like a 40 or 50-year-old kind of thing. And like this to me is kind of that idea almost of like probably like a rough draft almost of like him being gray bearded. Yeah. And just like, this feels right to me.
Him shooting that banner over and over again is the equivalent of him pushing his hand against the darkness in the end of the 14th book.
Yeah.
Oh,
He's
like, I don't know why, but I should be doing this.
No, I get it, and it's so dumb. I mean, it's like, it's strategically, and it didn't work.
It's stupid.
I get it. And there's this fun thing that was happening. I kept getting this image as I was reading it, and we can move on after this. He's always like feeling like he needs more, like something's needed in his life. Like he keeps going to that. And I kept getting these images of him like in battle, like douche, 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 and all of a sudden looking off like like longingly for something else. Or
that's
like,
the one.
Or he's like
that type of person yet.
He's like making love to his wife, and he's just like, oh, well, there's something more to life. I just love that. And he goes back to it over and over again. And at one point, he's like a general, and he's just like kicking ass.
It's really nice of you to say making love to his wife.
Yeah, the shocker doesn't make love to his wife.
You could have just said,
not at all.
Fucking Egwene.
He puts.
We would have been.
He puts a finger in her pussy, a finger in her asshole. The pussy fingers fall off, and all he's left with is the stinky fingers.
Ryan,
but still feels this as Golan's dicks around her.
All right, what's your real quick, Ryan?
At the end, Ingtar and Varen. So Ingtar goes, so obviously Varen's like, oh my God, she goes, oh, these are the lives that we could have lived. And then she goes, though I never thought and then she stops, right? So she hints like, what does she realize about herself?
It's the intro for Days of Our Lives.
Yeah. So is this like a turning point for Varen? Like, was she on a path that was going to be ultimately evil?
No.
I love it.
I think
no.
she lived her life almost exactly every single time because she's that studious. And there was one where she didn't become a dark friend and root out all the dark ones or the Black Aja, and that's the only regret she has.
I suspect it's the opposite, where she tried to be good, and then because while she was in there, she was made to do bad, and realized how fucking close she's come so many times to actually, being a true dark friend, and that so many lives could have gone way worse. Because any one of these people can be made to do
No, but then but then we have Ingtar, and he goes up to her and he goes, I walk in the light. I'll root out all the evil in Shao Ghul. I'll root the power out. But is that him? Is that his revelation that he's going to end up like pulling the badass like maneuver that he does and change his ways?
I think he saw himself. Yeah, I think he saw himself being a dark friend every single time.
I think that's despair. Yeah,
like the Machiavellian ends justify the means thing doesn't really apply. Because that's the whole point. Is like he's tired of watching the borderlands be swept aside slowly but surely, and so saying kind of like, well, at least we can make some sort of alliance and live, and then seeing what living with the Dark One is over and over and over, and him just saying, holy fuck, this does not work as a real scenario. And that really kind of snaps him to do good later.
Mm-hmm. Now, what about Huron? I imagine that every life he was sniffing something new.
It's all pussy. Constantly.
Well, Rand describes him as looking for a place to run.
Yes. Yeah. And well, imagine all the things he might have to smell.
Yeah,
I think
we do.
I know. Oh, well, my answer is very serious, but I think it's and less of a joke, which is probably not the vibe we're going for right now.
No, I'm so versatile. I'm Gabriel Garcia Marquez.
I feel like Huron most likely in most of his lives was probably chased down as being like somehow connected to the male half of the power and just probably murdered.
That could be.
And more than likely, most of the time was probably killed for his abilities, thinking it was something to do with male channeling, which is pretty shitty.
How many times do you think he got his nose cut off?
At least 5,000.
Yeah. I like that theory, Joe, a lot. And the only other option is he spends his entire life hunting out, Trollocs and then getting fucking murdered. Because realistically, his job is to get as close to a murderer as you can. It's not really a positive.
The murderer is right behind this closet door. Good thing it's not a Trolloc shock.
There's just one after another of him looking at somebody. One after another of him looking at somebody. What if you smell bad?
What if all you smell are like people who've died from starvation? What if all you smell are like people who write bad novels?
There may be some violence with bad novels.
Just like, oh my God.
Every time Heron's reborn, it's just that he smells a different kind of thing.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
Oh God.
And you're just plagued. And you're like, God damn it.
This is weird power. It's driving me insane.
This might be a scenario from The Good Place, where like your bad heaven version is just that.
I'm glad. Yes.
Anyway, we're on Tobin Head. We lost 4 months. We hope he's still here. Varen heals them all theoretically, based on Ryan's assumption, and they ride west.
FaceTime, and that's it.
Moving the fuck on.
Chapter
38. Chapter 38.
38. I have something.
Practice.
Yes,
it's an Egwene chapter.
So I have prepared something for us.
Oh, okay.
That is my interpretation of the beginning of this chapter.
I bet it's come moving back and forth. Please become.
Are you seeing that? What are you seeing?
Practice.
Yes, we are. Yeah.
All right. 1, 2, 3.
Practice. Sitting cross-legged on her bed in her white dress, Egwene
made her hands rub furiously on her crotch.
She was not supposed to do this without at least one of the accepted to supervise, but Nynaeve, glaring and striding up and down in front of the small fireplace, did after all wear the serpent ring given to the accepted, and her white dress had the colored rings encircling the hem, even if she was not allowed to try to teach anyone yet. And Egwene had found over these last 13 weeks that she could not resist. She knew how easy it was to
orgasm.
Now, she could always feel it there, waiting for her, like the smell of perfume or the feel of silk, drawing her. And once she did touch it, she could rarely stop.
Masturbating.
Or at least trying to. She failed almost as often as she succeeded, but that was only another spur to keep on. It often frightened her, how much she wanted to
masturbate
frightened her, and how drab and dreary she felt when she was not
masturbating
compared to when she was. She wanted to drink it all in, despite the cautions about burning herself out, and that wanting frightened her most of all. Sometimes she wished she had never come to Tar Valon, but the fright could not make her stop for long, any more than the fear of being caught by an Aes Sedai or by any of the accepted beside Nynaeve. It was safe enough here, though, in her own room. Min was there, sitting on the three-legged stool watching her, but she knew Min well enough now to know Min would never report her. She thought she was lucky to have made 2 good friends since coming to Tar Valon. It was a little windowless room, as all novices' rooms were. 3 short paces took Nynaeve from wall to white-plastered wall. The tiny fire on the narrow hearth handily kept the first chill of approaching autumn at bay, though Egwene was sure it would not serve so well when winter came. A small table for study completed the furnishings, and her belongings hung neatly on a row of pegs on the wall, or sat on the short shelf above the table. Novices were usually kept too busy to spend time in their rooms, but today was a free day, only the 3rd since she and Nynaeve had come to the White Tower. Ailes was making calf eyes at Galad today while he was working with the warders, Min said, rocking the stool on 2 legs.
Her hands
faltered for an instant. She can look at whoever she wants, Egwene said casually. I can't imagine why I would be interested. No reason, I suppose. He is awfully handsome if you don't mind him being so rigid. Very nice to look at, especially with his shirt off.
Her hands rubbed
furiously. I certainly have no desire to look at Galad, with or without his shirt. I shouldn't tease you, Min said contritely. I'm sorry for that. But you do like to look at him. Don't grimace at me like that. And so does nearly every woman in the White Tower who isn't a red. I've seen Aes Sedai down at the practice yards when he's working forms, especially greens. Checking on their warders, they say. But I don't see so many when Galad isn't there. Even the cooks and maids come out to watch him.
Her hands
stopped dead, and for a moment Egwene stared at them.
So I'm in love with that, and I have almost the exact same notes. That, like, pretty much, this sounds like 13-year-old me just learning about masturbation.
Yes! And then Elaine comes in, and then they're doing it together. They're oh, it's amazing. I can't get. All right, so that was inspired by you guys. Like, literally, like, you've infected my brain. I don't do this with any book I read, but for some reason I'm reading Wheel of Time, and everyone's like jerking something, or
and you're just like, Jesus Christ.
And I just,
could this be more obvious?
And I'm just constantly giggling in my head. But this was so obvious that Robert Jordan is just so like
so horned up. He's so horned up.
Like, oh my God, he's in the moment.
Ryan, have you read the Fallon Blood books yet?
No.
You need to. Like,
there's several things that were amazing in that, but I think my favorite part was the little like Tinkerbell sound.
Whenever someone came. Yeah, that's just my mind. Like that's
killing me. Stop doing that sound. And then it got like it like happened like 3 times. I'm just like dying laughing.
Bridget Gowen also made me happy.
Okay,
but seriously, like, that's exactly what it is.
Perfect chapter recap I've ever heard.
Yeah, I don't know. We don't need to do anything else. It's not really there's nothing else to say.
I mean, there's really nothing to talk about.
All right.
Although that we do learn that Nynaeve punched someone out, can't get along with anybody, is like that, like antisocial. If like she was in the dorm, like she would be like have a dark hair. Maybe I don't know what's going on with her. But yeah,
so that covers the first part of the chapter. The second little bit is when Leandrin walks in.
Yeah, okay, with her. Okay, so my notes are she has a rosebud mouth.
Yeah.
WTF? And I think it's interesting that we learn about the Black Aja from a Black Aja. That's what I thought was interesting. But
I have an interesting point there. Or like, is this not
I'll tell you that's
obvious? Like, if they had thought about it for like 5 minutes, there's only like 2 conclusions you can come from that.
Tinkerbell sound.
So let's start.
She says literally the Black Aja walks the halls of the White Tower. That was like a straight up statement. There's no way to twist that. It is a blatant statement. So there's only 2 ways she could know that. She's either Black Aja
or has seen
she
one.
knows that there's literally someone that's Black Aja and isn't saying something for some fucking reason, which is insane. And why wouldn't she just say, this Aes Sedai is Black Aja because I know it for a fact. I'm blatantly telling you right now, and therefore stay away from that person.
Technically, there's a third in that you've heard that the Black Aja do it. You're not lying,
but you know it's true.
I mean, because people,
girl,
you know it's true. So you know,
girl, you know. Thank you,
girl. You know it's true.
Yeah.
Girl,
oh my God, the beginning of that song is the greatest thing of all time.
She's Black Aja.
No, Milli Vanilli's right. Also, Joe, I quote Joe's favorite phrase here. He's a kid. Kids are stupid.
Yes.
That is true.
Yes.
Yeah, they're blown away by the news. They're not thinking about it logically.
It's so fucking frustrating.
So
also, like, when those Aes Sedai kill a bunch of people and then disappear out of the tower, like, you could say the Black Aja walked the halls of the tower, and you only have to believe it's true. You don't have to have specifics.
That happens later.
That happens afterwards, though.
Yeah, but I mean,
that happens afterwards. No, Tom's right. The fact is,
Landry could know
you can say it.
I mean, somebody could go into Landon's room every night and pour water on her pillow, and she would be like, the Black Aja walk the halls of the White Tower.
No, she couldn't say that because it's not true.
But
no,
if she's
true,
like, the only person that's doing this would be Black Aja. Who else would do this? It's a horrible thing to do. I'm trying to go to sleep. Now my pillow's all soaking wet.
I disagree. I feel like the Oath Rods would stop her from saying that.
No, the Oath Rods only stop. No, Tom is right. If you believe that the only reason that would happen if there's a Black Aja.
Right, and I don't think there's a fucking single possible way that she could actually believe that the only person that would pour water on her would be the Black Aja. That's
every time on pizza day, she goes to get Parmesan cheese and the shaker is empty, and she knows only the Black Aja would take all the Parmesan cheese on pizza day. All I'm saying is she blatantly
revealed herself right here if they had thought about it.
Technically, we all know that even people who are not Black Aja know that the Reds were infested with the Black Aja because of the what the fuck did they call it?
No, they suspect. They suspect.
Yeah, I don't actually. Hey, Joe, your show, but I think it's doesn't necessarily by definition say that she is a Black Aja to say that she knows.
It doesn't.
Black Aja exists.
It just means that either she is or she knows of it.
It's not Joe's show. You're fine, Ryan. You're 25% of this right now.
I just want to cause that derision and see where it went.
You should see it's going to go real downhill as soon as we kick you off. But it's fun. Real quick, I'm fascinated by the fact that it took fucking 4 months, because we know what damn time it is. It literally says, like, as a framing paragraph here, 13 weeks at the tower. Which is, pretty much 4 months. They got there just a little, like right around the time Rand got to Carahine. So we're a week or two off from when the last shit happened. King Galdrian just died. So it took Tom Maryland quite a bit of time to start a civil war and kill the king. That to me is kind of the thing that I find almost the most bizarre about this is like, what took him 4 months?
Jono, first of all, they're just getting news of it. Number one. Number two, didn't they say it's been 2 months?
What's that?
Didn't they say it's been 2 months?
They had 13 weeks, so 3 months.
All right. So she has like 3 weeks of training as a Damani before Rand shows up.
Okay. Yeah, she's what they call forced, which doesn't mean what you think it does.
Well, it does. It's in a different way.
Yeah.
She's absolutely being raped. Just not sexually.
I also find it interesting that right now, Rand does not exist. Like for his entire trip.
Yeah, that is really interesting.
That's bizarre because, like, kind of like one of the things that, like, a weird thing that we didn't really talk about too much is that, like, one of the realms that was there is kind of like there's 8 different symbols they use to study the ways, which seem kind of related to how it is that he traveled, maybe. But he chose literally to go from A to B, but missing time versus missing space. Like it doesn't, like, I don't really understand. It's like he just did not exist as a character that someone could read into dreams about. And like so therefore Balsamon didn't exist in her mind, which really seems like a dumb thing from Balsamon. He kind of had more time to torment her. But, it could just kind of a bizarre thing to me.
I mean, I guess for that 4 months he wasn't on this plane of existence, so she wasn't.
If he traveled through time, he doesn't exist at all for those 4 months.
But dreaming touches.
I don't know. Was he? I mean, I guess he was traveling through time, but I mean, like
unintentionally. I guess.
Yeah, unintentionally.
But everyone traveling through time.
Yeah.
I'm struggling with this idea that he's not existing, though. Like, what does that mean?
Well, he's existing, but just not on this plane of existence. So, like, to her, she's not. All of her dreams of Rand stopped. All of her foretelling type dreams stopped because Rand wasn't like on this worldly plane. He was in all the other portal worlds. And theoretically, he was on this plane of existence for like 2 seconds at a time when Baron was like, something's wrong, like for like that span of time in between those flickers. But like, that's what 30 seconds over the last 4 months that he's been on this plane of existence.
Yeah, if he time traveled from January to May, then in February, April, and March, there's
and somewhere on January 15th, he was randomly here for 5 seconds.
Like if you go looking for Rand in March, he doesn't exist. He jumped ahead in time.
Yeah.
You just see, because they travel both time and distance. Like of like, I don't know, really, you got not too far from, let's look on the map here.
Have you ever traveled through time and space, Jono?
Technically, all the damn time. But like
right now, I'm doing it right now.
I'm spinning.
Imagine like there's just 1/10 of a second of Rand just appearing, like just a bunch of Shinarans and some fucking people appearing for 1/10 of a second in like some small town, and then all of a sudden they're gone. Like something not right, and then they just travel across. It's just like,
and hopefully you are not standing at that spot they appear, because then you're just rupturing like into you're both obliterated instantly.
You're seeing that sneaky hand go by.
Like 2 months ago, one of the Ogier like walks up to the portal stone and is like, "That's so weird that they're gone." And then like for 1 millisecond, they blink into existence, just rip that guy apart. Then they're gone. They're just like, "Oh my god!"
It's Juin.
It's Juin, yeah. That unfortunately named Ogier gets it in the end.
Oh, you mean in the shocker?
Yeah. 2 fingers just burst him out.
yeah. Rand's decrepit fingers like appear in his skull.
That's why he smelled so bad.
So anyway, this chapter wraps up with Elaine saying, "I'm going to come with you. You can't stop me."
Well, hold on. You missed an important.
What?
Well, there's 2 things. One, I always find it funny that Nynaeve, who can't channel but is accepted, is trying to give the other people, "Hey, you guys shouldn't be doing that." But, whatever. But to me, I
think it's more like she doesn't want to be held responsible for them doing something stupid in front of her, because she isn't accepted and can get in trouble if they fucking kill themselves and burn themselves up.
Yes, she can. She can. She's.
You don't think the White Tower would hold her responsible for Elaine or Egwene burning themselves out, juggling balls back and forth between each other's vaginas?
We already saw that video. Balls.
No, that's the secret pay room.
Yeah, pay to play.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, that's
I meant just juggling colored balls of light.
But I love
between their vaginas.
This piece from Min where she's like looks at him like, "There's danger." All of a sudden, like brand new, that just occurred. Huh. And then all of a sudden Leandrin walks in like, "I've got something for you guys." And like one of the first paragraphs in this fucking chapter mentions that they have glory holes for giant, in that like you can kind of whisper to each other. It's probably born hole, probably about this big, I would think, about an inch across. No offense to anyone with a clitoris that size, Joe. And and they've been there for generations. So Leandrin knows, because she was a fucking novice, that every single one of these fucking rooms has a little glory hole.
She doesn't know, because when she was a novice, just like in current life, everyone hated her and no one whispered to the walls to her.
That could be.
Quick. Wait, you just went like this and you said, "I'm sorry if anyone has a clitoris this size." You mean a clitoris that's shaped like a discus?
Yes.
Yeah, that works.
Is that what you're saying?
In diameter, okay. Ryan.
The diameter.
Yeah, that means diameter. Okay, got it.
Yeah. I'm confused why you're confused, because I feel like any of those dimensions should be questionable, but all right.
I just like the idea of a discus, but go on.
Yeah, you're just flopping it around.
Just like a hockey puck.
What is this weird quarter-sized frisbee-shaped clitoris you have?
It's a $50. JFK's face right on it. But anyway, God bless.
I can't get in the room. Sorry, Tom. Continue the dumb jokes.
No, finish it. All I was going to say is I can't get past the idea of every girl's clitoris having JFK's face on it. But anyway.
Wait, that was very valuable. Why would you?
Because I want you to wrap up the chapter and move on to the next one.
Anyway,
we need to wrap up this chapter.
It just feeds into the weirdness of her like wanting it to be secret, even though she says it to people who are so obvious that like, "Oh, we're going to go to next door," where we already listen to shit and everyone knows this happens all the fucking time, and then be confused why later. Further, men just had a viewing. Things just got more dangerous. And then...
Yes, that's the part that is obviously so stupid. It's literally like, the danger. You guys are in danger, but I can't see it. And then Leandrin comes in and goes, "Let's go here." And then 2 seconds later, Min comes in and goes, The danger's becoming more clear, and I think it's literally based on you deciding to go with Leandrin. And they're like, well, let's go with Leandrin.
Well, it's that's like Kramer walking in all of a sudden.
That's not necessarily something to be suspicious of.
It's not per se, but it's like, what the fuck? Come on. They're already suspicious of Leandrin as it is. They're like, don't you hate Moraine?
But if you're going to
hate the guys that we came with?
But if you're going to save Rand from danger, of course things just got more dangerous. When you get the news that Rand's in danger and I've got to go save him, of course it got more dangerous.
Yeah, it doesn't help that Min can't really see it yet. All right, chapter 39.
Why can't she see shit on Leandrin?
That's an excellent point. Well, she wasn't in the room with Leandrin.
So there's also this dumb part again.
Not at first. Well, yeah, she was, but not. I mean,
there's this dumb
I guess
thing that
Leandrin comes in and she tells Min and Elaine to get the fuck out, and then they do, and then they come back in after she's gone. So maybe she didn't see something. I mean, I assume that if Min had seen something, she would have said something.
Anyway.
Maybe. Around Leandrin, all you see is black rods that shoot white light at cats.
I just imagine around Leandrin, she just sees her like giving like noogies to Egwene and
just everything, really mean bullying in the hallways of the Tarvalon.
So
he's like, you're gonna get a swirly. You go with her.
What, Willie?
Elaine mentions like I'm gonna go, and like she's even like, what do you think? My mom would start a war? Like, yes, your mom almost starts a war.
No, Denise says that. She's like, your mom will fucking start a war if you don't come.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Like, my mom would never do that. She
actually almost happens under a Forsaken. But like, how fucking you're the daughter heir, you dumb cunt. God damn. Like this.
Don't get me started on how much Elaine sucks, Jono.
And not only that, this
we'll be
is
here
her
all
best
night.
book. To a certain extent, this is her best book. She's not that annoying, other than one or two decisions that are a little rash. But like everyone at this point should be like, you actually are literally worth a kingdom. You stay here.
Yeah, probably shouldn't come with us. Although apparently she would have been murdered. So.
Yeah, I do that later.
Fine,
but
I guess.
Yeah.
All right, chapter 39. Moving the fuck on.
All right. Yes, moving F on. We enter the ways. Ways. Which I don't remember it being so psychedelically cool the first time. Do you remember this? It was very visual. This whole like entering where they're seeing going into their images, and the two images are coalescing as they enter the ways. Remember that whole thing?
Yeah.
Horses.
No, that's described in Camelin when they go in the first time.
Yeah, in book one. Yeah. And like the weird time, like you like all of a sudden you slow, and then just bam, change time.
All right.
Yeah, that's the funny part because Egwene knows that and she still runs in and they're like, "Not fast, you idiot!" And then she almost kills herself going in on her. Just like,
God, she's everything.
So
right,
dumb.
So Elaine wanting to go and seek adventure, it parallels Egwene, right? And is this just like them experiencing the Taveran pool, and that's how they are just interpreting what that feels like?
I think there's cycles.
They're like, I want to adventure. Okay. Moon cycles.
Yeah, I think they synced up when they were in the tower together.
I was looking at Tom and I felt like he was staring at his phone to watch my reaction of just happiness of that very sexist joke, which is entirely offensive.
I think that's why they both are into adventure now.
I mean, it makes sense.
So you masturbate together that many times with that many balls.
So I was gonna say she reminds me of like a preteen gamer who's just been in his room masturbating forever, and all of a sudden he's like, I gotta get out, but I don't. Should I go? I gotta get out for an adventure.
Wait, everyone that I'm playing with is going. I guess I need to go with them.
All right, so real quick.
Unfortunately, we all know that you can't masturbate in the ways because Perrin or Matt is going to be looking at you on either side of your sleeping bag. And they're not here, but I assume Leandrin's staring at them all night.
Everybody knows the pitted bridges and circles in the ways are just dried cum anyway.
So that's
my brother Dan had one question. What are the pock marks all over the ways? And so
Midril cum.
The reason the ways are dying is because nobody masturbates in there anymore to fill in the pock marks.
There you go. Yeah, they used to have like fertile grass. By the way, so Ryan, I know you've got this question.
Were they like a race of like beings, like they're like Fraggles? You just went around like masturbating.
It's Patton Shane cutting his dick with the dagger and then just jerking off all over the waves.
So if you jerk off like right on the edge of a waygate, like imagine like all of a sudden like the speed up in time, like you could really just like launch some cum at someone's face.
Your cum will fall forever until Machin Shin swallows it.
I'm talking about. I like that idea.
Rand walks into the waves and Perrin's on the other side, starts jerking off. He shoots his cum right at the waygate. Like, how long does Rand have to like run around at super speed to dodge those cum?
Right. So Perrin is 20 feet. Perrin is inside the waves. He's 20 feet away from the waygate. Matt is 10 feet outside of the waygate.
Yeah.
They come at the same time.
Ooh, who gets there first?
Who gets there first?
First off, I'm pretty sure other than when I was like 13, 14, and 15, I don't think I can make 10 feet. I'll be honest.
I mean, they are tougher.
Hey,
10 feet. That's a long distance.
Wait, I have a serious question.
Oh, okay. Cool.
If Machin Shin is just the wind and a voice and you can actually see him, if you actually jerked off on a Machin Shin, could you see him like he was the Invisible Man if you threw paint on him?
Yeah. It's like Kevin Bacon in that movie where he's invisible. Kevin Bacon is Machin Shin.
I think that's. Oh shit! I hit the thing. Sorry. I think that's.
There's like 1,000 movies with Invisible Men in it. Most of them are called Invisible Man.
Tom, that's
the Kevin Bacon one.
If you put on sunglasses on Machin Shin, would you see his face?
He just wraps bandages around his body and puts on sunglasses. Yeah. Now you don't know.
Like a little cane, like just like the little cups, like a little. That's my favorite thing ever. Oh, I'm going with it. Okay, so
it's called Hollow Man, Jono.
There it is. Thank you.
With Elizabeth Shue from The Karate Kid.
Yes.
And that's what
plays as Matt, which I thought was funny.
That's what Leandrin was mentioning when she's like, Maureen doesn't know everything about this place.
Yeah, she's never seen Hollow Man.
She didn't know you could just power come on it, get the outline.
Who does?
That's amazing. So I think Machin Shin's a misunderstood character. I think he's actually trapped there. I think people should be trying to help him. He just keeps going. He's like, guys, like these voices are following me around. He's like
kind of annoying.
Guy. He's like a normal guy in the middle of like a huge cloud of annoying voices. And if everyone could just like get through the voices and be like, there be guys sitting there like, help me.
Thank God you got all the way through. Yeah. I need to get out of here.
Yeah, like I'm not saying I haven't said a word in 1,000 years. You think that's me?
Not me. That's not me.
I mean, I might be invisible, but you could see me if you came all over my face.
All right, Black Wind. Are they going to change? Are they going to change that name for the Amazon show?
I don't know. Maybe I think they'll just focus on calling it Machin Shin, and then the nickname, the Black Wind, will just be something they say once and not say a lot.
Got it.
Yeah, just leave it as Old Tongue is fine. There's this one piece where like we find out that like Min and Elaine, we're really, you mentioned in the last one, either Joe or Ryan, they were pretty much supposed to be fucking murdered, Min and Elaine.
Oh yeah, Leandrin basically says that. She's like, well, you wouldn't have survived the night in the tower, so I guess it's fine you're coming. But it's like, why does she know that? Because she's going to have
also, why would you have not told them? I mean, never mind. Fine, that's fine.
You two come with me. You two stay there. You're gonna die tonight. I'm gonna keep that to myself, and I'll see you later.
But have a good night.
That's right. That's it. Yet another reason they should question her. It's like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
You should have just pushed her off the ways and just walked back to the gate.
Yep.
So, and then another thing that
Just like someone get down on their knees.
If there's not a more obvious fucking thing that is wrong with this situation, it's like, how many times did Leandrin have to be like telegraph that she's the villain? And they were just like, well, I guess let's keep going.
You should have died. I'm hoping you won't die. Don't talk to me.
So Leandrin bitchily helps him through the ways.
And then she ends it with that smile. Just like, is that the first time she smiles in the entire series?
No, she's got a rosebud mouth, which I assume means a smile.
No, she's pursed like a little.
I'm just kidding. Yeah, of course not. It looks like
that was for the viewers.
That's for the viewers.
It looks like a gaping ass. It's like
a baboon,
prolapsed anus.
Just all baboon face.
Yeah, just prolapsed anus Leandrin.
Do you think that Leandrin actress is gonna purse her lips the entire time?
No, they're gonna actually just film her upside down. All
right, the fuck off. Wrap this up.
All right, last thing is
couple questions. I have two legitimate questions. One, how is it that I assume? So she mentions the fact that she knows how to fucking keep away the Black Wind, which we can only assume is because it's fixed after Rand, which doesn't really make sense. Because the ways I've always assumed that Machin Shin is kind of a manifestation of the taint. Jokes aside here, is Matt
no, it does, yeah.
Hasn't actually gone after anyone right now is because Fane told it to go after Rand. But Leandrin should not know that. So I've never understood quite how she could avoid it, especially considering the fact that unless there's a special weave, Leandrin literally mentions, or actually Egwene mentions, if she were to try to channel, which doesn't make sense to me, it would be tainted by just being in the ways. And I don't quite get it, considering that seems almost the exact opposite of what happens in Book 9's cleansing. That
I'm assuming she's lying.
Yeah.
Well, Egwene feels it too, though. She's worried that if she were to channel, it would just be sickened. And I guess
it explains the weird shit that's happened when like Rand and Moraine have channeled at the Black Wind as it was exiting the ways, that maybe it's somehow still being affected.
I guess so. I guess
Moraine did some weird shit with the fire, and she was like,
with her staff.
Yeah. And then later on, Rand did the same thing when they were at the, Toad Man's house.
Yeah.
Barthanes.
So I guess I'll drop my question.
Yeah, Barthanes Manor. Yeah.
Nope, Toad Man. You're right.
Toadman, yeah, that's what I said.
I'm assuming when she says she can hold it back, she's just lying.
Oh, Leandrin? No, for sure.
I think she has to. Also,
when she didn't say I'd hold it back, she said I would deal with it.
Yeah, which is
she's not worried about it.
Yeah, I mean, she'd embrace it in a death fucking spiral. Maybe she likes the screaming.
Yeah, who does?
Maybe she was just planning on spraying Machin Shin with cum and being able to see it.
Maybe she
holds it back because the Black
Leandrin's a squirter.
It's like, I'll slice your skin with 1,000 daggers, and Leandrin's like, I'm into it.
That Moraine's staff was actually just full of cum, and then when she emptied it all, she's like, "Oh, this staff is worthless," and drops it.
Yeah, don't need it. What am I? Land, refill it.
Maybe Leandrin can stop the Black Wind because she has a paint can with her.
That's probably what that makes sense.
And then last actual comment, although I like the other shit more, I find it fascinating that like the idea of what did the ways look like before, like they've been out of commission for like 600 or 700 years, but all Leandrin has is what's probably a translation of go forward 3, go right 1, go left 2, and yet she can navigate the ways without a problem. Like it
repetition.
I assume she's.
Yeah, it's a map.
Is there Trolloc script on the ones that they've been looking at?
She's just got her own map, and she's just comparing it. So, what the fuck was that? Why weren't more people using the goddamn ways previous to it just going like Like, why would you figure it out? The highway?
I think somebody gave her an exact way to go.
Yes,
like,
for sure.
you know,
100%.
like, you know what happened?
But isn't that difficult to do? You've got thousands of. There were literally 2,500 years of. Well, maybe 2,500 because the men.
Well, first of all, she got instructions from Ishmael at the fucking black.
Yeah, and people aren't doing it.
And he downloaded the new map into her.
Yeah, you just like put the map in her brain. Is the
But I'm talking
way
about
to go.
1,000 years ago, 1,500 years ago, 1,000 years ago. Why weren't they just?
What are you
fucking
saying?
doing
Like maybe one of those places would be broken and impassable, or?
No, I'm saying why the fuck weren't these more like used more often? Like why would anyone?
Fucking mac and chin. What are you talking about?
Not now. 1,000 years ago.
It's McDonald chin.
1,000 years ago is what I'm saying. It's just like it seems like an unnecessary. Like this should have been the most famous goddamn highway of all time. Like they know about it.
Are you saying like why? What is your actual question? Are you saying like why are they not using it now, or why are you saying why do they not just all have a roadmap to the ways? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, like it was used for literally 2,500 years.
Okay.
Like, it seems like it should have been ever present for anyone.
Weren't you not allowed to go in without an Ogier guide in the beginning?
Well, not the beginning.
Isn't
I think that's more like later.
Probably the first couple hundred years before people translated it.
He was a gentle Ogier.
Anyway, it's just like it's the most kind of like it's not like the route changes and you need to like re-update and reroute.
Well, the only reason the route changes now is because like fucking platforms break away and fall into nothingness. So like they're like, oh shit, we got to go a different way. Like Moraine and everyone experienced in book one, but like. I understand your point. Like, why doesn't everyone just know? Like, oh yeah, if you want to go from Tarvalon to here, you just go ba 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 ba.
I mean,
and you're there.
maybe the route does change.
Exactly.
It's weird interdimensional travel. Like we don't know.
Yeah. Well, at the end of this chapter, they exit the Waygate onto Toman Head.
Fuck this
Chapter 40. It's called Damani. It's from Egwene's perspective / a little tiny bit of Nynaeve.
Ryan, take it away. It fucking sucks.
Tell us all about it.
All right, let's. I was ready to get into a full-scale Oxfordian style debate about cultural relativity and Sanchins, but I'm kidding.
Well, I mean, we can.
There is No, I just it's fascinating though, like how they just like I always read them as just rational actors working in their own best interest, and they are like not immoral even as they're doing atrocious things. I'm trying to like as if I was like a historian, like reading this from like a distance, right?
Yeah, third party, yeah.
If I was like you read about like Genghis Khan or whatever, it's like he's doing all these things, it's horrible, but you can kind of see how there's rational choices being made, and you see how he's benefiting like his purview, like the things he thinks he needs to benefit are being benefited by him being some crazy, warlord. And so these people are like trying to benefit their people or whatever. They're like their circle of interest, right?
They're just following orders.
So but then you get inside there, and then like within there's like the Black Aja.
I agree with you. I'm probably one of the. I've probably argued this too many times on our podcast, and Jono and Tom screaming at me for trying to rationalize the Seanchan's perspective.
I think the thing that makes no sense to me is like, so like what I love about this chapter is it really frames so much of what the fuck happens later, in that you find out, where the Damani, like if you really put it defined tones, you realize that the Damani or Domain, whatever the fuck you call it, they actually are the women who innately could channel, and the Sildam are those who could learn to channel, and therefore, you kind of, that's why a Sildam eventually, if learning long enough, would eventually be leashed one herself potentially. So what confuses the fuck out of me is that realistically, like it's not just like, hey, we knew from birth you weren't fucking human. It was all the way until you literally hit puberty that you went from being a normal member of society, maybe of the blood, to all of a sudden you got your first, you got your period, and all of a sudden you also probably learned to channel, and now you're no longer human. Like it's not just, again, not to sound, fucking weird about it, but it's not just grew up with a different skin color. It's your skin color changed all of a sudden for them. And that's a fucking weird, that sounds really, it's fucked up anyway on its own, but it's a weird thing to say, you're fine, you deserve to be enslaved. Like that's even like a weirder thing. And
I think the part of that makes that justifiable, at least in their minds, is that an Aes Sedai is the one who theoretically came up with this idea and was like, we are dangerous, and this is how you should handle us.
Yeah.
Which is
and they're
interesting to note. I don't know how valid or how truthful that is, or like what they actually said, or I mean, who the fuck knows? But the point being is like, at least that's a very interesting, like,
Ryan,
away from that conversation.
Have you read the World of the Wheel of Time?
Say it again.
The World of the Wheel of Time, the big white book that came between books 7 and 8.
Have I read it?
Yeah.
No, I own it. I haven't read it.
I recommend
it. It's an encyclopedia. Jono's insane. No, carry on, Jono.
I wasn't gonna. I'm open. I'm open. I want to.
It actually has like a kind of the history of Shan-Chan as seen from the son of Arthur Hawkwing, which is what Arthur Paindrig Moore, whatever the fuck. And like that dude got there, and like it was like an ever shifting like just bunch of wars left and right, north and south, just kind of like always like a shifting quilt really of like alliances. And it was often led by women who could channel that were being backstabbed by other women who could channel. And so like that's kind of the auspices of like when he landed and why it is that he wasn't just overwhelmingly defeated, because he came in with a huge fucking army that couldn't channel for shit, because that wasn't how they fucking did it in what's now Randland. And so the only reason they got there is a lady kind of came over and just like, well, I'll ally with you. And, like, let's kill these bitches. And then, a couple of decades later, it was also, we'll capture you too, lady. So it's like really dumb plan from this dumb bitch who just really didn't understanding what was happening here. Yeah,
so what does that explain though? Like, so link it to what's happening right now, like with.
Well, it explains realistically kind of like what the genesis was for Domain was just, or Damani was because like they, at the time, any person in Shan-Chan didn't trust like these channelers, because they always made themselves, as opposed to what the White Tower did, which was clandestinely call itself in charge, but allow other kingdoms to actually occur.
Yeah.
These people, it was almost all governed by women who could channel, not men, obviously. Like, and they were always just kingdoms run by what we would call an Aes Sedai. And because of that, it was almost like taking on someone that you would train, and then either you kill her after she's done her job, or she kills you and usurps you. So it was just this weird shifting quilt of alliances and like women just fighting women.
And that sounds a lot like War of the Altai.
It does, doesn't it?
It does.
They should talk about it.
There's
they should release that first book that he made.
It's almost like this whole age, though, the ability to channel came too early in like the evolution of the people, and they have never been able to kind of evolve to handle it like they did in the Age of Legend, right? Like something flawed. Everywhere channeling is happening, there's something weird and flawed about it, and only like through like you see like Egwene, that's what I'm talking about, Egwene, and that kind of will, her ability to like all of a sudden bring back old skills and bring back old abilities and start like leveling up, like almost like a video game like style, leveling up before your very eyes, doing shit no one's done in this age.
Yeah, like youngest Amirlan, among other things.
Yeah, but commonplace in other ages. So it seems there just seems something very flawed. Like I don't think like Tar-Valon is, I don't imagine happening in every age, right? This is just this age where this weird.
I think
train them all crazy, and
not a contradictory point to what you're saying, but in addition to it is that the breaking of the world actually, I mean, it didn't just break the world physically; it broke the people, and the mistrust of the power after the breaking of the world culminates in all these different cultural differences of how they handle people with the one power. And Tar Valon is kind of the only like, I don't know, constant in terms of like, this is how we handle this shit. And everywhere else that we find is just like, oh, you handled it that way? That's weirdly civilized. Those guys fucking broke the world, so we're going to persecute the fuck out of them or enslave them or blah, 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 you know, like kind of thing.
So 3.2 counter or two counter would be the Sea Folk actually have their shit together. The Aes Sedai have their shit together. But on the other hand, you know, there's that amorphous landmass. And again, if you
kind of the Aiel, like in this, the Aiel have their shit together. Hide it. So I think they have their shit together in the sense that they keep it secret.
But there's also that amorphous landmass, the land of the madmen, which is to the south, which is pretty much Australia, which is a funny name for it. You ever like Ryan again? Like, there's more of that in the World of the Wheel of Time book. Like the Shan Chan in that book, like, mentioned several times that they try to land people there, and every time they get there, it's just insanity. Like, I really just know nothing. And I guess another piece is Shera, which is that fucking like slavery owning place even further east of the Aiel. That kind of where Raven is. Or is it Raven? No, it's what's his name of the Joe, help me. Yeah, thank you. Really didn't like that reveal. But where he is, and like they have this bizarre ceremony of like a female fucks a dude, like pretty much like the Amirlan fucks a guy, and like there's only like a certain amount of time that person's allowed to actually rule, but the Aes Sedai, again, they're not actually Aes Sedai, but the Chandlers rule it in the background. And anyway, so it's a weird culture there too.
Let's talk about what happens in this chapter. We haven't talked about it at all.
What would that be like?
Yeah, we got a capture scene. It's a great scene. Everyone is okay. So who do you think is channeling? Who do you think is the one who starts whipping up all the shit?
Nynaeve.
Okay, yeah.
Nynaeve is apparently fucking like horny and ready to go because that wind came up instantly. She must have been looking side Andrin the entire time.
So it was boiling. She was at peak fucking rage.
Yeah, she was ready to be pissed off. She was pissed off the whole time.
Yeah.
She fucking hates Leandrin just for the sake of being an Aes Sedai. She was mad the entire time. So when the second they walk out of that gate and there's people there to capture them, she's like, "Fuck you!"
Yeah,
she's like the Hulk.
Yeah.
Imagine if it had been a parade and she just still blew him up with lightning.
It was just a welcoming parade. What's wrong with you?
She's always.
Don't invite her to DragonCon. Yeah.
There's behind the scenes, there's the guys with the grapes and the big palm fronds.
They have a horrible moment where Egwene gets captured, Min gets captured because she helps Elaine escape, Elaine and Neve get away, and then we just basically get. I mean, and we don't need to talk about it in depth because we all know what happens. Egwene basically gets an info dump of what it's like to be in a Damani.
I hate this chapter.
Horrifying. Honestly, 10 years ago, Tom summed it up pretty succinctly where he goes like, this is the worst thing ever. And then Robert Jordan just systematically breaks down for the reader how all the ways that you cannot escape while she's in custody. And I was like, that's pretty spot on. I mean, there's really no way, the best way to describe it is just like, as a reader, you just want to rage quit and just be like, fuck you, don't get out of there. And just like, well, she could do this, she could do that, she could do this. And then Robert Jordan just systematically goes like, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do this, you can't do this, you're fucked. And it's just like, it's horrifying.
It's awful.
He doesn't hold back.
One thing I really forget that highlighted Serath is Black Ajah, because it's so ancillary.
Not Black Ajah, just a dark friend.
I mean, yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, of course. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But it's ancillary to what we see of her. Again, other than her escapades with Alwyn and Leandrin here, she actually is a pretty, I mean, not decent, but she tries to follow what she thinks she's supposed to do. It's really not like the black, or not black again. Goddamn, the dark friendness of her is really kind of ancillary to just her general Shan-Chan-ness. It's kind of funny.
It doesn't seem like.
I don't think she fully buys into the Empress may she live forever shit. I think she kind of wants to skip a few rungs on the ladder.
It seems like I agree. It's more of like a power grab on her. She almost seems like more of an Ingtar in terms of like, or not an Ingtar, but like a Lord Barthanes, where she's like, I'm super rich and powerful. What else do we got going on here?
Yeah,
I'm kind of bored. So let's dabble in this dark one shit. This is interesting.
Yeah, more of a means to an end than a devil, eat your mom for breakfast type thing for her.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
What is that reference?
You know, devil, eat your mom for breakfast. You never heard
who doesn't know devil, eat your mom for breakfast? It's one of the most famous things that's ever been said by anybody ever today.
My notes are Sarath has a mullet.
That's the note. Oh, I wish that was your only note.
Okay, no, my brother made that point to me. Sanchin are all 90s ravers. And they mentioned that you could channel without hands, right? And I was like, you know what? Like, imagine this. If everyone was channeling and not using their hands, eventually, like, your hands would be like a vestigial thing.
Yeah. You would just it would be like, it's a tail you don't need.
It's actually a really good point.
Our arms slowly grow. The evolution of a channeler is that their limbs slowly just pull into their bodies.
Yes.
So that's what I'm saying. What, you got little T-Rex hands?
That's what I'm saying. You would only
just
do it
for balance at that point.
Like, maybe you'd want to be able to like have the sensation of touching, but can you get that through channeling?
You wouldn't even need to balance. You don't need to walk.
I don't know. Can you? Yeah, I guess.
Like, can you caress your lover with the channeling and it feels like that for you?
I feel like yes, but also in a different way. Like, it's all like cerebral.
Well, here's the question, Ryan. Can you help your friend masturbate with just balls of light? The answer is yes.
It's like, what? You know, like, why do I need to fondle breasts when I can like massage a person's brain?
You got to channel air, a little bit of water, and some spirit into his brain. Yeah, that gets hot later on. Yeah.
And salt. Right. Don't forget salt.
That all makes sense. That's funny. I imagine 10 years ago, I was talking to Tom and Jono about Sarath's haircut, and I was like, so when they say both the sides of her head are shaved, does that mean that she's bald, or does that mean she has a mohawk, or what is that? And Tom just goes, I think he actually said mullet.
Mullet. Yes.
Joe might be the only person that gets this joke, but do you think Sarath could be Zartan's sister?
Oh yeah, for sure. Zarata? Yeah, 100%.
That's an 80s G.I. Joe reference.
All right, so I just want to point out, and we're going to get to this. My brother has publicly announced that when he reads, he finds himself, and I bring him up because he's part of the show. He acts out what he's reading. Like he finds himself like if someone's doing an expression, he'll find his face doing it. He'll and it's unconscious.
Does he read in public?
I've asked him this. No,
can we go back to chapter 38?
What's that? Yes. We'll get there because there's several times if you read that and imagine my brother doing these things,
fingering his vagina.
Yeah. Well, like when Egwin's getting like just completely whipped around and she's trying to defend herself.
Tom,
I just imagine my brother like reading and like flailing around.
Just passing light balls between his own crotch and a mystery other person.
Chris Roger Mister.
Beautiful. So why are they having this conversation on the and open, and what's that all about? Like, so they're obviously talking about having like masters and
no. He's talking about Leandrin and Sarath.
Sarath and Leandrin. It's fucking crazy.
Yeah, it's literally like my bigger master.
Egwene knows all of the shit that happened in the chapters before this. She hears them talk about a master.
Yeah, and she doesn't even she doesn't even pay heed to it all. There's not one thought about it. Yeah. Okay, I keep reminding myself that she's 16.
I mean, to be fair, also she's very distracted with her current situation. So you got to give her a grain of salt there.
But why are they doing it in front of their soldiers? Like everyone's so religiously dedicated to this being a Sanchin. All of a sudden, to hear you're
and not only that, there's references about Seekers of the Truth, literally right here in this chapter. The Seekers do.
Yeah, I was gonna say the soldiers might not do anything, but Seekers are everywhere.
People? Yeah, but that's the thing. The whole point is that Seekers are over there. Also, how are the Suldam okay with the fact that she's like walking next to an Aes Sedai this whole time?
Mm-hmm. That's true too.
Like,
because they're told by the blood. Technically, the blood are so elevated. But the thing is, like, the blood made
that's also a fair point, Jono. I don't know.
But like, even
that's a fine fucking line though to like risk.
Like, Surath is still scared in like book 9 after she's elevated as high as Turak, really, and that she still is worried that there
dinosaur hunter.
Yeah, the dinosaur hunter. She's still worried that there can be Seekers everywhere. Like so, but, like nothing here. Like the only people who are exempt from Seekers are like the Empress and like the top 3. That's fucking it.
Well, so maybe Nynaeve killed enough of these dudes around here that she's like, well, I had a core of 17 guys, and now I just don't know.
I don't think the Shanshan have a human resources hotline where you can call and be like, hey, I think one of the blood might be a dark friend. But, and I think if you try to take it up proper channels, you get your tongue cut out.
That's very funny. That's very funny.
As a former HR professional,
that's a good fucking point.
I'm SHRM certified.
Who are they going to tell? Tom's right. Who are they going to tell?
Correct.
Is there like an ABC 7?
Well, it's like, I think she might be a dark friend. Like, how dare you speak like that of one of the blood? You probably get put in a net and hung off a wall.
Yeah. I mean,
true. But the corollary though is that that Surath does not know who is or is not an actual Seeker.
Yes,
because it can be anyone under disguise too.
Yeah, I don't know. He really kind of like built himself into a catch-22 here. I don't really. It's like chicken or egg, which came first. I mean, who the fuck knows, man?
Everybody knows. Everybody knows the egg came first. Everybody knows that, Jeff.
Well, I know that. People that are dumb.
Actually, the chicken did, because the chicken was a dinosaur, and the dinosaur had dino DNA.
Dinosaur? Oh, dino DNA. Tell me more about it.
Vestigial eggs.
Yeah, you don't.
So anyway, Egwene gets collared and raped, essentially, and tortured her whole way back.
Yeah, and for some reason, like, they keep men alive for just what?
Yeah, that was mind-blowing.
Is that irrational?
I feel like that was Robert Jordan being soft.
I thought so too.
Hard.
I think he wrote himself into a corner, and he's like, I guess I'll have Egwene say she's my friend.
Yeah. Yeah.
If Egwene does well, men can live. Remember, though, the whole point here is like the actual.
But why?
That's
so
because they're trying to. You're trying to break somebody.
And also, the Shanshan don't really kill people. Like, unless
High Lady Surath would have given a fuck if men dying or not dying would have helped Renna's job of breaking Egwene. But I do like the sentiment.
I guess
I don't know.
Well,
if you have a lever.
Tom, I agree with you that like one's a lever, that men is a lever to make sure Egwene complies. But at the end of the day, like Egwene, like we see here, is not meant to just be a normal demonic. She's meant to really, she and Nynaeve, the whole point here is Ishmael wants them taken to the other fucking side of the ocean to Shanshan so that Rand cannot have allies. That is really, like, that's the whole point here. That's what Ishmael wants, is for them to no longer be able to like ally with and help out with Rand. So, whether it's a lever or not, you can just fucking slit their throats and send them to the West Coast. Like, is really is the actual point.
Okay,
they must have orders not to kill them then, right? Because why not kill them on the spot? Why not kill Egwene on the spot?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Not. It's the same dumb shit that I'm sure that Ishmael wants to be able to use them over Rand, realistically.
Yeah, it's the same dumb reason they don't kill Rand 8,000 times before this and past this.
And they would have gotten away with it too, full of his meddling kids.
All right, I've got like 10 minutes left, maybe.
Is there any help me out? So the Shanshan they have their own prophecies, correct?
Yeah,
that they're following.
Yeah, they do. They do. Yes, actually, you're correct.
Yeah, they do.
But aren't these prophecies suspect in a way?
Yes, they've all.
Yeah, they were tainted
by Damodred,
by Ishmael, but I don't remember how and why.
Okay, so
I think the Crystal Throne itself is like a ter'angreal, and then somehow tainted, and then everything that is like comes from it or from who's sitting in it is therefore tainted. I feel like that's a thing. I don't know where I'm pulling that from.
No, I think the Crystal Throne is a Turing rail, and there's nothing wrong with it. It just gives you kind of that awe-inspiring, like, must follow, which is probably not good.
Oh, okay.
But the yes, you're correct, and I'd totally forgotten until just now that all the prophecies they have are neutered versions in that, like, kind of like, yes, the Dragon Reborn must blow the and therefore he must bow to the Crystal Throne. It's like it's just, you have to be the savior of mankind and then bow to the Crystal Throne. Like,
yes. That's what it is. Like, so I don't remember why I know this for sure, but like Ishmael basically tainted their prophecies to make it seem like the Dragon Reborn needed to bow to the Crystal Throne, which is why Tuon makes that such a huge bargaining point later on in the books.
Yeah, but also,
and I don't remember why I know that.
But it also adds this whole idea that they're rational actors, like following like a set of facts and experiences that make sense to them, and everything for them is just completely sensical.
Yeah, right.
Right. So even cruelty, like if you're destined to be these people that's going to make the dragon bend his knee, you need to be XYZ or whatever.
Yeah, you need to be strong. You need to crush all the channelers. Yeah.
You can make a lot of conclusions about that. No, it's fun to think about that because everyone just hates them, and I hate them too. But
that's funny because like I don't think we really hate. I mean, as a collective, I'm kind of answering for all of us, but I don't. Over the course of the books, there's many Seanchan that we like we all love Turok, for instance. Like we're all just like, that guy's awesome. Like why? Like there's no reason to hate him. I don't hate Seanchan innately. I mean, obviously, I find the use of the "damn" like, disgusting. But
and
like,
that's the hard point. That like, I mean, it's hard. Yeah, and I'm not literally again like, hey, I'm not
it's a
in
weird
any way
thing
in
to say,
favor
like,
of this.
Slavery aside, but it's not really palatable in any fucking world. But on the same on the same token, again, this is a horrible understanding of Giotto. The Aiel take a slave for 1 year. Again, not a slave, not a servant. I get that. There's honor and obligation. We can translate, but it's not overwhelmingly different from what you do. Technically, the Seanchan use slaves in two ways. They have, never mind. So yeah, it's really. I was thinking something different. Never mind.
The Forsaken.
They're horrible. They're horrible society.
They are horrible.
Almost everyone's a slave that's not of the blood. It's ridiculous.
But it's a noble and quote horrible society. But are they evil for living within that society? Is Ryan's point. So the obvious answer is no. They're just living. If you grew up a
Seanchan little kid,
yes.
If Tom was a Seanchan kid, you would be like doing everything they are doing in the book. Like you wouldn't be right now smoking a cigarette and walking around. You'd be like, praising the high priestess and shit. But like
and wearing like bug-eyed helmet.
And like probably like hoping it fits. It looks good.
First of all, I wouldn't be doing any of that. I'm so beautiful with such a perfect body. I'd definitely be in
you'd definitely be in a very sheer robe.
Yeah. I'd be in a silk gown and I'd be serving
head down.
Yeah, I'd be serving drinks. That's what's going on.
You'd be serving yourself drinks.
How dare you say I'd be in the army?
Yeah, well, the last thing I want to say is that Nynaeve literally learned battle techniques on the fly.
From Seanchan, which is awesome.
She killed someone here, and she doesn't even fucking flinch.
She killed multiple people.
Yeah.
They carried back more than one body. And Egwene sees the bodies come back on the horseback, and she's like, "Oh, it's not Min, and it's not Elena and Nynaeve, so maybe there's a chance." Like she's like looking at that as hope, which is fucking awesome. But the fact that Nynaeve learned on the fly was crazy.
Like that's and there's the way she kind of reflects on it, just like, "Oh yeah, I was like doing this." And
all right, well, we're gonna end this on a question Tom asked us 10 years ago.
What's that?
And I'm gonna say it to us now and see what our answers are to see if they're different. He basically said, when Nynaeve and Elaine escaped, what were like scale of 1 to 10? How positive were you that they would help, or they would then rescue Egwene and Min? So like 10 being they would nail it, and 1 being they would fail horribly. Like where does Egwene and Min's chances lie on the scale of like Nynaeve and Elaine are free?
Ryan, you first.
So I gotta imagine I'm in my first read, and what was I thinking back then?
No, not necessarily. Well, I guess so. Yeah, like how did you feel when you first read this? Like, did you feel like, oh, Nynaeve Street, they're fine, or you were like, oh, god damn it, they're fucked?
I thought they were fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's the number though? I needed 1 through 10.
Oh, probably. Oh, yeah, probably 6. Like, this is Robert Jordan. Yeah, 6.
Okay. All right. Jono?
I don't know what I said originally, but I would go with an 8 for the simple fact that like the chapters antecedent to this were Rand being almost in the exact same area, and therefore you've got to assume that there's about to be a confluence of them all.
Interesting.
Maybe I'm thinking that because I've read the books, but that's
that makes sense. That tracks logically. Tom, what would your number be?
69.
If we're not bringing Rand into the equation, like a 4 maybe.
In fairness, Nynaeve hasn't saved anyone.
Nynaeve almost got her arms ripped out of her sockets trying to cut horses loose in the first book. I don't know how she's going to take on an army.
That's true. Tom, you've come down a notch in 10 years. You were at a 5.
Was I at 10? Oh.
All right. No, you were at a 5. I said 10 because Nynaeve's a badass.
Yeah.
Which is also insane, but I had faith in her. Jono, you said 5, so you've come up 3 notches.
Did I say 2?
No, you said 8. So you said 5 originally.
Oh, come up 3 notches.
He came down.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, Tom. You went down a lot more. You said you were in between me and Jono. I'm sorry. I was 10. Jono was 5. Tom, you were somewhere in the middle, which means you dropped a shitload.
Reading is difficult. And Ryan, you did a great job. You haven't moved at all.
Yeah, Ryan, you've stayed the same. You said 6 10 years ago. You're saying 6 right now.
I'm like George Bush. I don't change my mind. Solid. Fun.
My last note in this chapter is that they ride 1 horse.
No. Your last note should be how annoyed the fuck you should be about the fact that they briefly talk about, like, well, what do we do? Should we go west? We should. But first, I've always wanted to wear Damani dresses, is what Elaine talks about.
Seriously.
I want to wear slutty clothes. Like, you stupid fucking bitch. Like, this is what's on your mind.
I wouldn't say it that way, but I am completely psychically linked with you right now. That was
we have to move on.
The most ridiculous thing ever. All right, moving on.
So that's tWoTcast for this week. If you have any comments or questions, the best way to find us is on Twitter at tWoTcast.
Listen wherever you get your podcasts. You can find us at twotcast@gmail.com. That is our email address.
Why do we still have this on here? You can join us in conversation on our Discord server, theoretically. Permanently linked at the top of our Twitter profile.
We're on Patreon. We actually are. We actually do record shit there all the time. And you know what's worth it? Our Patreon. So much money. You should listen. Give us so much money.
None of that.
Patreon.com/tWoTcast.
And enjoy exclusive content only on Patreon. tWoTcast theme songs brought to you by Taffy Bennington. Bennington. At Sing with Taffy on Twitter and Anarchy101 on YouTube. And also everyone's favorite musician on #Twitter of Time, Androl. At Androl Genhold on Twitter and Androl Bard of Time on YouTube. And with us this week was Ryan.
Yes, Ryan. And bringing up Androl, I'm currently having a celebrity beef with Androl, the Bard of Time.
Oh, you're having a celebrity beef?
Oh, yeah. We've several videos of us rapping and insulting each other. It's super fun. And I think we have one more hit coming out. We're going to take him down. He's we call him Androl, Bard of the Lame.
And then you're going to be Ryan, Bard of the Leaf?
No, we're not even associated, man. No, actually, we'll make up and we're gonna maybe make up and collaborate together. But actually,
I'd watch that.
We do a lot of things with that guy. That's really funny. You bring him up. So yeah, we love Androl. So yeah, I'm Ryan. I'm from The Way of the Leaf. That's the YouTube channel. With my brother Dan and we are hosting live streams for first-time readers. We're halfway through The Eye of the World. Those are on Thursdays, 8:15 Eastern. Every Thursday, Sunday mornings at 11 a.m. Eastern. We are hosting a fantasy football kind of advice show, just free for all improv comedy show. Come and enjoy that with us. Basically, if you want to participate, just give us a subscribe on YouTube. Join our Discord. We are on Twitter at leaf.cast. And this has been super fun, man. Having a great time.
I'm glad you're here. Oh, so wait, the YouTube channel is so I'm on YouTube and I'm searching. It's The Way of the Leaf. It's not Leafcast. Okay,
but I think if you put in Leafcast, you'll find us also, because that's the show we put on. We call it the Leafcast currently. Yeah. So the first time reader show is the Leafcast. But yeah, we're trying to emphasize The Way of the Leaf. It's easier to find us that way. Yeah.
Algorithms are crazy, right?
Yeah.
We should talk more about them.
I wanted to call us Maureen's staff because I just thought it was great that she just like, and you never hear from it again.
It dies in book 1.
But but thematically, I think that's a great moment. I think that's like him, like seriously saying like, okay, I'm done with this Wheel of Time parody shit, and I'm moving on to my thing. Is kind of what I think he was doing with that. Now that I
would agree. I think it's a throwback
Lord of the Rings parody,
which is what he meant to say.
Yeah. What did I say?
And then also like,
what did I say?
You said Wheel of Time.
You said Wheel of Time. Yeah, he's not parodying
with his Wheel of Time bullshit.
I meant Lord of the Rings. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, all that homage to Lord of the Rings, like where he's like, okay, we're done with like that.
I agree with you. She was the Gandalf character, and he was like, no, she's better than that, and she threw that shit away.
And that's why she dies later on in the next book on that bench after being held down.
Fly, you fools. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Join us next week for the Wheel of Time Book 2, The Great Hunt, Part 13, covering chapters 41 through 44. Well, we will have a special guest on, which I guess we've never announced that ahead of time, but I guess I can.
Sure.
Whatever, we'll have a guest on. I'm Joe, you've been listening to Jono.
Jono!
And Tom, study your math. That's what he would have said.
If he could have studied his own fucking degeneration in his math, because he fucking died 8 minutes ago.
He could study charging his phone. And Ryan.
Ryan.
Say goodbye, Ryan. Oh, that's good. Ryan. Yelling Ryan is good. That's what Jono does.
Yeah, seriously. I actually yell Ryan sometimes mid-coitus.
Yeah, keep the change, you filthy animals.
It works. I'm multi-orgasmic.
That's fantastic news.
Among the first to start, the tWoTcast was so smart to lovingly bash our favorite books. But that was long ago, and now they've grown the show, and now they got us in their hooks. Don't throw coins to these bastards, they need bars of gold at least. Someone please keep them afloat. Now let's listen as they once again ramble through a book. Let's get the fucking quote. One of them is Tom, but he is barely on. Sometimes he calls into the show. Another one is Jono. Is he their joker? Oh no. And Joe, is he the stupid one? Welcome to the tWoTcast. We will share our love for books and all our hate in every episode. We'll entertain you, make you laugh so hard you barely can stand up. That is the tWoTcast.